Welcome to a journey through a labyrinth of secrets and lies, a journey into the heart of the dairy industry. A tale so intricate it has managed to weave itself into the fabric of everyday life. We've been told time and again about the benefits of milk and cheese, haven't we? But what if everything we've been spoon-fed was a carefully crafted narrative? A narrative designed to drive consumption and profits, not health and well-being. Now, this isn't just a he said, she said situation. This is about a system that's been churning out mistruths for decades. The dairy industry and the government, hand in hand, have painted a picture so wholesome, it's hard to imagine a kitchen without a jug of milk or a block of cheese. But what lies beneath this facade? That's what we're here to unravel. The Mercy for Animals article, a beacon of truth in a sea of half-truths, hints at the manipulation tactics employed. Tactics so clever they've managed to convince us that milk is a necessity, a staple, a must-have. But should it be? Should we be consuming so much dairy? Are there alternatives that are better for us and for the environment? We've been led to believe that our bones will crumble without milk, that our sandwiches will be tasteless without cheese. But who stands to benefit from these beliefs? Certainly not us, the consumers. It's the industry giants and the government who reap the rewards of our unquestioning devotion to dairy. So, as we delve deeper into the rabbit hole, prepare to question everything you thought you knew about milk and cheese. In the mid-1970s, the US government found itself in a milky predicament. An earnest promise from President Jimmy Carter to bolster dairy farmers led to an unexpected and rather cheesy situation. The government, in its attempts to keep the promise, started buying up cheese, a product that's storable and requires a considerable amount of milk to produce. This well-intentioned move, however, led to a series of unforeseen consequences. The government found itself spending billions of dollars on cheese. And as the cheese kept piling up, they had to resort to renting caves to store it all. Yes, you heard it right, caves. This was no ordinary cheese affair, it was a full-blown cheese extravaganza. As the government's cheese stockpile grew, it began to resemble a cheesy version of a dragon's hoard. But unlike a dragon, the government couldn't just sit on its treasure. The cheese had to go somewhere. It couldn't just be left to age in a cave. In their pursuit to support dairy farmers, the government had inadvertently created a cultural phenomenon known as government cheese. But the road to cheese was not all smooth. As the cheese mountain grew, so did the government's dairy dilemma. The question that haunted them was, what to do with all this cheese? This billion-dollar question led to a solution that was as unexpected as it was controversial. But before we delve into that, it's important to remember that the cheese itself, despite its political and economic implications, was considered quite tasty. A small consolation perhaps, in the grand scheme of this dairy drama. But what was to be done with all this cheese? The solution was as unexpected as it was controversial. In the 1980s, America was introduced to a new cultural phenomenon, the government cheese. Our tale takes us back to a time of economic uncertainty. As the nation grappled with recession, the government faced a dairy dilemma of its own. The excess milk purchased from dairy farmers had been transformed into vast quantities of cheese, butter, and dehydrated milk powder. The stockpiles were so immense that the government had to store over 500 million pounds of cheese, with rented caves acting as makeshift warehouses. The question arose, what to do with all this cheese? Enter a solution wrapped in yellow packaging and stamped with the word government. The cheese, once a symbol of excess, was processed into blocks and distributed through the Temporary Emergency Food Assistance Program. This was President Ronald Reagan's response to the dairy surplus and the economic hardships of the population. An astonishing 300 million pounds of cheese found its way into the homes of low-income individuals and organizations. The public's reaction to this initiative was mixed. On the one hand, the government cheese was appreciated for its taste and utility in the kitchen. On the other hand, it became a symbol of socio-economic status and hard times. The cheese's association with poverty and government assistance was a far cry from its original purpose of supporting the dairy industry. Agriculture Secretary John R. Block's presentation of a mouldy block of cheese to the press didn't help matters. The image of a high-ranking government official showcasing a product of poor quality triggered public criticism and raised questions about the management of the dairy surplus. Despite the controversy, the government cheese program continued until the 1990s. Its legacy, however, lives on. The cheese, once a symbol of prosperity, had become a symbol of hard times. The government cheese era had ended, but its legacy lived on. As we moved into the 90s, the government ceased the production of its infamous cheese. Yet the imprint of this dairy debacle was far from being wiped clean. It was a time of change, a time of reassessment, and the dairy industry was no exception. The government cheese, once a symbol of hard times and socio-economic status, had taken on a new light. It had become a cultural phenomenon, a testament to American resilience in the face of adversity. But what of the Commodity Credit Corporation, the government-owned entity responsible for the cheese? Well, it didn't disappear into the annals of history. It continued to make headlines, this time for providing subsidies during the trade war under the Trump administration. The aftermath of the government cheese era saw the dairy industry and the public's perception of it forever altered. The cheese, originally a byproduct of a desperate attempt to support dairy farmers, had unintentionally created a cultural icon. The story of government cheese, however, is more than just a tale of dairy and politics. It's a story of the American spirit, of resilience in the face of adversity, and of the power of unintended consequences. It's a story that resonates even today, reminding us of a time when the government's good intentions led to unexpected outcomes. The government cheese, once a symbol of economic struggle, had now become a part of America's cultural history. And it leaves us with a lingering question. What unexpected legacies will the decisions of our leaders today leave for the generations of tomorrow?